there. I'm here with Ben Cherion. How are you, Ben?
Doing pretty good. How about you?
Excellent. Thanks for joining us.
No problem.
That's good. Well, so Ben, ever since I met you about a year ago, I mean, obviously you've worked in the industry for a really long time. You know a ton about cloud and cloud computing. And when I talk right now, when I walk around HostingCon and I talk to different vendors, I feel like I always get a different answer. So I wanted to ask you, because I think of you as an authority on this. How would you describe what is the cloud? If you if a friend asked you, how would you describe it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I just the other day I saw this on my Twitter feed, and somebody else said this, so I'm going to steal it from them because I thought it was pretty good. But they had described the cloud. This is how you explain it to your mom.
It's perfect. That's what tell me that this is perfect.
Yeah. So they said that infrastructure as a service is kind of akin to going to Home Depot to build your furniture, right? And then platform as a service is going to IKEA. You still have to do some, manual assembly, but you could still get your furniture together. And then software as a service is much more of a polished product, and it's much more like going to Crate and Barrel or a furniture store just to get it done and over with. It's more productized. So I thought that was a really good. I retweeted it. I thought that was really good. I would give the guy credit, and I don't even remember who said it.
Oh, you don't even know his Twitter handle, but that's okay. People can go back and look at your tweets and find it.
Exactly. So I would say that's kind of the differences between the clouds. What's funny is every hosting provider has a cloud. So, at the end of the day, I think if you're hosting something somewhat anywhere and it's accessible over the internet, you probably have some sort of cloud solution. But unfortunately, all that marketing is getting in the way, and that word cloud doesn't mean anything anymore.
Right. Fair enough. That's fair.
So.
Well, I think that's right. I think that's true. So, when you look over the last year, and again, in your view of the industry, what are some exciting things or trends that you've seen emerge that you're like, this is going to be big or impactful?
Yeah. I think there's a lot more knowledge in the space, and I think as people are the difference between this year and last year, I felt like last year people were what is the cloud?
Right.
How does this impact our business? What are we going to do about it? And it was kind of more in fear. At least at HostingCon, it felt a little bit more that way. And this year, people are starting to say, no, don't worry about it. Here are all the solutions that you can buy, and this is what you can do. All you have to do is buy something.
Right.
Which is kind of good and a pretty interesting thing. So I think that there's going to be a lot more cloudy hosting providers coming out over time, over the next few years. So that's pretty interesting, I think. I think that consumption patterns are changing. I think that if you look at IT as a whole, IT is moving towards a self-service model in most enterprises. Now, before you ended up having to work with your CIO or your IT manager or whoever's running the organization, and when you had to buy things, there was this very long sales cycle on how to get in there. Well, what's happening is internally, these IT organizations, there is going to be a dramatic switch, I think, over the next few years where these internal organizations turn into cloud providers internally. Right? And when that happens, because that's what their customers, who the rest of the organizations are their customers, is their customer. The customers are asking them to do something like this. And they have to do it in order to compete with it moving outside where they don't have control. And then you end up into governance issues and all sorts of problems with security if it's not internal. So these CIOs are going to have to turn their organization into a service provider business. That's a big fundamental change in the way that IT operates in this country.
Right? Yeah.
Or actually anywhere right now. It's just a big change. So we're going to see the self-servicing. You'll see the IT industry turning into more of a self-service model internally and finding a way to put together, even if it's the same solution, finding a way that it could actually be self-provisioned and hook into other cloud platforms and things of that sort. I think that's a big move. It's coming over the next few years.
Yeah, that'll be a big change, as you said.
I think that it's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's going to be what happens. Because the other option is that these consumers who are these divisions within these companies are just going to say, I'm going to use Amazon or DreamHost or Rackspace or any of these other companies that are out there. But then their CIO or their CEO are going to be like, that's secure information, or we have governmental issues, or we don't have control over this, or you're spending too much money on this. And they're trying to find a way to bring it back all in-house. So they're going to have to turn into a service provider in order to be able to do so.
Right.
Which is, I think that's an interesting move.
That will be interesting. And so, if that trend continues to emerge, who will be the winners and who will be kind of left behind?
Winners.
Or
I'd say
who
if
do you think
people
is well
don't
positioned?
recognize this move coming,
Yeah.
and if the hardware providers and the people that have products within the enterprise, like the VMwares, the EMCs, the IBMs, like anyone who has any sort of product internal, right? If they don't realize that this is what's happening and this is a sea change and adapt their products in order to take advantage of it, then they're going to be left behind. And I think what it does, it opens the doors up to a lot of innovative startups that see that this is what's happening, and you're going to see consumer products. Like I would almost consider Cloudflare as it was, or at least kind of where it started from,
Right.
more of a consumer product. But I think you're going to see the enterpriseification of consumer type products to reach into the enterprise. So you're going to have guys that are in the market, like a Symantec or something like that, that might not be able to compete at the same level as a startup that took at it from a different sort of approach.
Right.
That's really interesting to me too, because it's like, it's coming, everyone sees it, but people have to make big investments in order to change.
And that can be hard.
It can be very hard.
It can be hard to justify the business case, even though you need to know you need to do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of change ahead, which I think is exciting because that means there'll be new opportunities.
I think there's going to be a lot of space available for people to blow up, whether it's like a small company or a startup or even like an enterprise. If an enterprise sees this or a large company sees this coming its way and reacts properly to the shift, then it stops startups from fulfilling that role. So if people can move quick, then it could be very interesting. But I think it's the way things are going. So as you see all of these products that are around us at HostingCon, right now everyone's looking at this as a small industry.
Right.
And I think that it's actually the tip of a very large industry if people here recognize it, but I don't think people here recognize it. So
Well, again, the fact that you think it's the small tip of something bigger means that there's a lot more good things to come.
I think, yes, absolutely. I think it's all positive for people that are doing hosting.
Awesome. Excellent. Good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Anytime. Thank you.